Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Dr. Hamburg, I think we can all agree that the patient safety is the priority of Congress and the priority of the FDA, and it is my job and the job of the entire Health Committee to help you to protect patient safety to the best of our ability. When I talk to patients in Minnesota, they also tell me that they want to be able to access medical devices that have been developed, and their doctors want to provide them with the best devices for their conditions, but too often these devices haven't been approved by the FDA. And when I talk to the medical device manufacturers in Minnesota, they tell me that they're sometimes frustrated, or how frustrated they are that they're developing innovative and potentially life-saving devices, but they can't get them to their patients because the FDA hasn't approved the devices. You and I both know that it takes time and effort for the FDA to thoroughly review devices for safety and effectiveness, but I believe that we can make the FDA processes more efficient, more predictable, and better support and reward biomedical innovation. I really want to get into three areas here, and I just want to use my time wisely, but I just want to summarize them before I ask questions. One is improving coordination between the FDA and the medical device industry and how we can do that. Two, speaking to what Senator Enzi spoke to, was dealing with what some consider the overly strict FDA rules on conflict of interest, and so how you can avail yourself of expertise outside the agency when the review staff is confronted with novel technologies. And I want to talk a little bit about, or ask a little bit about humanitarian use devices and how it's worked in banning profits or limiting profits on the sale of these devices. So given those three areas, let me ask some questions and try to get through maybe three questions if we can. And I apologize for taking half your time with the setup here. How can the FDA do a better job of working with the industry to answer questions, make the review process more predictable, and restore trust between the FDA and the industry? Because we know that's been a problem.
Well, it's so important, and it's something that we are very actively engaged in, and of course the MDUFA negotiations give us a chance to work with industry to lay out a set of critical issues and concerns and priorities for action. You know, certainly Dr. Jeff Shuren, who's with me and is the director of the Center for Devices and Radiologic Health, and myself and other leaders of the FDA are trying very hard to reach out, to listen to, learn from, and work with members of industry. In the last 10 days, I've actually been in Boston, California, and Cleveland meeting with leadership, CEOs of device companies and entrepreneurs involved in the device industry. Haven't yet been to your state to do that, but should put that on my list.
We're the home of the medical.
I know, but Dr. Shuren, I know, has spent a lot of time, and we've organized both informal and formal town hall meetings in order to facilitate these kinds of exchanges. And as we were doing our internal review of the 510K process, also a lot of outreach to get feedback on our recommendations before we came out with our action steps. There's some critical areas that will make a difference that we are working on and want to strengthen. Communication in terms of both formal and informal mechanisms for sponsors to come in and meet with us, to ask questions, to get feedback in an ongoing way, because we know that early engagement, continuing engagement helps to smooth the process towards a successful outcome. Being able to provide more guidances is really key, and it makes a difference, adding clarity to what our expectations are and giving industry, the opportunity as the guidances are being shaped, because we always start with draft guidances, to have input in the process as well. I think that we have just recently put out some critical guidances in that regard. The ability for us to, really make sure also that our own staff are adequately trained and that we are as explicit as possible about our standards is another important aspect of what we're working on with new training certification programs, and we're eager to work with AdvaMed and others representing the device industry and companies on what is expected and how they can improve their ability to comply with our standards. Yeah. And we're really trying to reach out to small business as well, because we recognize that, especially in the device industry, so many of the companies are small. Many of the countries, a very high percentage, have never put forward an application to the FDA before, and we recognize that it's a complex landscape to navigate, and we're trying to build in some new points of contact and some new programs to make FDA more transparent in that regard. So just a few examples of how we're.
Thank you. My time is up, but I just.
I'm so sorry. I talked too much.
I'll submit some questions for the record. And Mr. Chairman, going forward, I plan to work on the 3 policy issues that I touched on in my questions: communication between the FDA and the industry, unnecessarily restrictive conflict of interest rules, and the profit cap on humanitarian use devices, and I hope we can work together to address these issues.
Well, I assure you, Senator Franken, I appreciate your leadership on these issues, and I'll be pleased to work with you to move this forward.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Mr. Chairman.